Hi, I'm Adam Stevenson. I'm a solution architect at SSW and the principal mentor behind Fire Bootcamp. If you know me, you'll know I love GitHub, I love Azure, I love ASP.NET 5, and I love continuous deployment. I thought getting all of these working together would be pretty easy, but I hit a few snags, and that's what I want to tell you about in this video. Let me show you what I was trying to do. I had a simple ASP.NET 5 Web API project. For this demo, I just went File, New, and chose the Web API template for an ASP.NET 5 project. Then I went and I checked it into GitHub. I then went into Azure and I created a new API app. I could have just as easily created a web app. The issue exists in both of them. Then I went in and I configured continuous deployment. So I went into my app and I went down into continuous deployment and I hooked that up to my GitHub repository. Now, what should have happened is it will now then pull my code from GitHub into my Azure app, and it should have published, and it should have run, and it should have been great. But as you can see, the deployment actually failed. Now, when I drill in and I have a bit of a look at that, you can see that when I view the log, you can see that it was telling me that I was actually running out of disk space. Okay? Now, I thought that was a bit strange. And the reason why I thought it was a bit strange is that when we come and have a look at it on disk, the project actually takes up less than a meg. Remember, this is just a file new project for an empty web API. When I come back into Azure, I can go and see what's being used. So once I restore all of my .NET packages and my Node packages, it gets up to 700 meg. That still should have been enough to deploy though, because when I have a look at the free and the shared tiers, when I go into scale up to choose my instance size, I can see that the free and shared tiers both have 1 gig. So I had 1 gig of storage. It's only using 700 meg of storage, but it's giving an out of disk error. Now I don't fully understand why that's happening. I'd love someone on the Azure team to let me know. Luckily, once you know this, once you've worked it out, there's an easy workaround. It costs more money, but if you go and you choose a B1 basic instance, then the deployment will actually go through fine. Now, there's a second issue that you need to know about, and that's that you need a www root folder even for a web API project. So I went in and I was creating a web API. I didn't need to serve any static content. So the first thing I did is I went in and went, well, I don't need a www root anymore. So I deleted it, and I'm just going to jump into another branch where I've done that. So I deleted the www root folder, and I went in and I updated my project.json, and I said webroot . Which tells the project that I'm not using a webroot. Okay, so then but when I did that, my project wouldn't deploy, and so I can see what's actually happening. I went over into the Cloud Explorer, Microsoft Azure Cloud Explorer. Now I've got both of these branches continuously deploying up to Azure. So if we come in and we have a look at the one where I've deleted the www root, you can see that when it deploys up, the deployment works, but what's happening is it's just sucking the files straight from the GitHub repo, and the repo is what's sitting in that website, so it won't actually run. If I go down and I have a look at a website up on Azure where the Web API project does have the www root, you can see that it's actually doing a .NET publish, and that application will actually now run correctly. So in summary, the two key points is that even for the smallest Web API project, it won't successfully deploy if you're using a free or a shared instance. You need to use the more expensive B1 instance. And for the moment, it appears that if you want to successfully deploy a vNext project, even if it doesn't require the www root folder, because you're only creating an API and you're not serving static content, you still need to include the www root folder for Azure to recognize the project as an ASP.NET 5 project that needs to be deployed. Now, if anyone from the Microsoft team happens to watch this, there are two things that I'd love. I should be able to create a simple ASP.NET 5 API or web project and continuously deploy it to Azure via GitHub, and it should work for the free instance. Maybe that's going to involve expanding the size of the free tier on Azure. Or maybe it means making some exceptions about what is counted towards the 1 gig of storage, but we want a frictionless entry to continuous deployment of ASP.NET to Azure. And the second thing I really want to see is a few more smarts around how we're identifying if an application is an ASP.NET 5 web app. Now, because it needs to identify that to work out whether it should be pulled straight into Azure from GitHub or whether it needs to be compiled and published. Now, it appears at the moment it's looking for the existence of a www root folder to make that decision, but maybe we should be checking for the existence of a project.json or a hosting.json, and then checking for the web root setting to assist in this determination. We can see from the announcement on the ASP.NET GitHub repo that work is being done on default logic around the web root, so maybe the Azure and ASP.NET teams could work together on this. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to, please leave a comment down below or else contact me via my Twitter or my email. I'm Adam Stevenson from SSW. Thanks for watching.